Hi, this is Father Joe Giuseppe. Thank you for joining me once again. We're continuing our tour through this vast cafeteria that we call the world of prayer. And we've been exploring different types of prayer, and we're going to continue to explore some other types of prayer as well. But I'd like to step back and go a little bit more into some theory or just some general background information in this video. As you're starting to see, there's a tremendous richness and variety to our tradition for anyone who is willing to pick it up. And right now, we're just going on a tasting tour. But it's also important to develop good habits of prayer, much like exercise. You develop those good habits. And as I probably have said earlier, another name for prayer is spiritual exercise. So it's a development and nurturing not just of a habit, which is good, like flossing your teeth every night, which is good, all right? But in the end, it's about sustaining and growing in a loving relationship. And so it's helpful to develop a program. Sometimes we start out with small steps. You don't try to do everything because there's just too much there. You don't try to eat everything in the cafeteria there, all right? And something that's very important is that our prayer is always going to be something that is appropriate to our state in life. We're all called to prayer. We're all called to a life of daily prayer. But that's going to be lived out by different people in different walks of life and in different stages of their life. So an elderly cloistered nun is not going to have the same prayer life as a mother with a number of young children, okay? They're both called to a life of daily prayer, okay? But they're both called to live that out in different ways. So our life of prayer should always be in harmony with our state in life. It shouldn't distract us from our duties in life. It should make us better at those duties. It should make us better spouses, better parents, better workers, and so forth. And our prayer is not meant to be a burden on other people. So we develop a program appropriate to our state in life. And to help with this, when we have certain times to pray, that's a way of developing a habit. Not only times, certain places, okay? In my room at home, I've got what I call my prayer chair. And that's where I sit usually to pray. I try not to sit there too often doing other work. Sometimes I do, but not very often, all right? So the point is that that's a space that is dedicated to prayer. So there is this great richness there. However, there's two things that we can all face, okay? Resistance and reluctance, okay? Reluctance, we're just slow to do this. We know we should do this. We like doing this, okay, even. But still, boy, sometimes we just got to get ourselves there. Like sometimes you just got to get yourself to the gym, okay? Resistance is like taking it the next step. It's like, we just kind of put it off more and more, okay? Well, some resistance and some reluctance in the spiritual life is probably to be expected, okay? Just sometimes that's where it is. Sometimes we just have to force ourselves to pray. And sometimes I find myself, yes, I want to pray. I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do this. Okay, I got to do this first. Then I've got to do this. Okay, then I'll do it. It's like sometimes I find myself putting it off. Well, sometimes we just have to make ourselves do it, all right? And so there are certain times when we're going to have to force ourselves to pray, okay? And you know something? That's not a bad thing, okay? That's not ideal, by no means, but it's not bad. Sometimes we have to force ourselves to get out of bed in the morning. Sometimes we have to force ourselves to go to work, all right? So if you want to take all that and turn it around and look at it from a more positive angle, we call that developing a good habit. So we develop these habits of prayer. And so the whole point is that these habits can then help carry us. Again, there is a tremendous richness in our tradition of prayer. And sometimes, we all have our favorite types of prayer. Sometimes it's helpful to explore something else as well, another form of prayer. But another way of talking about developing a good habit is what we call perseverance. Perseverance literally means to serve through the good times, to serve through the bad times. And it says you pray when you're healthy and things are going well, because sometimes that might not be the case. So we seek to persevere in prayer. That's very important. Okay? This requires some sort of discipline, but this discipline is meant to serve us. We're not meant to serve it. The discipline is really meant in the long run to serve us. It's meant to be something that's freeing and something that's life-giving. St. John Vianney said, "The more we pray, the more we want to pray." The more we pray, the more we want to pray. So it's important to continually work to open our hearts and minds to God's love in prayer. Now, of course, there's some assumptions with this. First assumption is that we're sincerely living the Christian life. Secondly, that we're regularly sharing in the sacramental life of the church, at least to the extent that we're able to under certain circumstances. And it means accepting this discipline of prayer. So will sometimes prayer be a challenge? Yes, it will be, okay? But that's how we grow. Will sometimes prayer even be a sacrifice? Yes, it will be. That's also a way that we express our love. And again, this discipline is really there to help carry us. So specifics, times that we have to help us pray at certain times. You can pray whenever you want, of course, but sometimes we have some set times there. That's a way of giving some structure. Having the place, we talked about that some. Preparation, okay, that sometimes we just pause and calm ourselves before we start to pray. That's something that doesn't take very long. Sometimes it's hard to do because I need to pray, I got to get this going, I got to keep moving, something like that. When we just take a little bit of time just to calm ourselves, that can make a difference too. Again, there is a tremendous richness in our tradition of prayer, and we're going to continue to explore some more of the specifics in the next video. In the meantime, let us continue to pray. Let us continue to pray for each other, and let us continue to pray for our suffering world.